Here's something no one tells you. Nearly all of the daily struggles seniors face, from that nagging lower back pain to the fear of stumbling on the porch step, can be dramatically reduced by doing just 5 simple movements. No fancy gym, no expensive equipment, just your body, your home, and a few minutes a day. And what's truly shocking? The very first exercise we're about to reveal isn't about your legs or balance at all. It targets a hidden weakness that almost no one talks about, yet it silently fuels stiffness, poor breathing, and even that hunched-over feeling. Before we dive in, I want to ask you, how much is your independence worth to you? Imagine being able to tie your shoes without that uncomfortable strain, or standing taller during a walk around the block. If that vision excites you even a little, do this for yourself right now. Tap that like button and subscribe to our channel, Better Aging Advice. Because what we're about to share could be the difference between feeling limited and feeling free. And stay tuned, because exercise number 1 might just change the way you move forever. Let me introduce you to someone whose journey might remind you of yourself, or someone you love. Eustace, a 71-year-old, retired postmaster from a quiet town in Iowa. Eustace spent nearly 45 years delivering mail, rain or shine, walking from porch to porch with ease. Back then, his legs were strong, his back was sturdy, and his balance was something he didn't even think about. It was simply there, like breathing. But after he hung up his uniform for the last time and settled into retirement, Eustace started noticing changes he hadn't prepared for. The mornings felt harder. He'd wake up with his lower back aching and his knees stiff, needing a few extra moments just to stand upright. He used to spring out of bed ready to take on the day. Now, it felt like his body needed convincing. Little by little, things he once did without thinking became a challenge. Getting up from his favorite recliner took effort, and he'd catch himself groaning as he rose, bending down to tie his shoes or pick up something he dropped. That became a task he sometimes avoided altogether, choosing slip-ons or asking his wife for help. The man who once covered miles every day now felt nervous walking across his own yard. He found himself looking down more often, watching each step, worried about uneven ground or hidden hazards. The fear of falling started to creep in, and with it, a fear of losing his independence. Eustace tried to brush it off at first. It's just age catching up, he'd tell himself. But deep down, he missed feeling like himself. He missed the confidence of knowing his body would do what he asked. He tried a few things: a stretching DVD he ordered from the back of a magazine, a set of resistance bands a neighbor gave him, but they gathered dust after a while. Nothing seemed to help in a lasting way. Then, one day at a community breakfast, a friend mentioned something different: 5 small, specific movements that didn't feel like exercise at all. No sweating, no straining, no fancy equipment. Just easy, natural motions designed to wake up the parts of the body that quietly weaken with age. Skeptical but curious, Eustace gave them a try. And that's where everything changed. Within a few short weeks, the stiffness eased. His steps felt lighter. His posture straightened. Best of all, that quiet fear, the one that made him second-guess every movement, started to fade. Eustace's story isn't special because of who he is. It's special because of the choice he made, not to settle for feeling older than he really was. And what worked for him could work for you too, starting right now. Exercise 1. The Wall Angel. Here's where Eustace's journey took an unexpected turn, with something called the Wall Angel. Now, if you're imagining some complicated exercise or a move that requires strength and flexibility like you had in your 20s, think again. This movement is gentle, almost meditative, but incredibly powerful. What surprised Eustace, and will probably surprise you, is that the key to improving his flexibility and balance wasn't in stretching his legs or twisting his hips. It started with retraining his upper back. You see, years of sitting, whether it's at the kitchen table, in the car, or in that cozy recliner, slowly pull our shoulders forward. Our chest tightens, our upper back weakens, and before we know it, we're hunched without even realizing it. That rounded posture doesn't just make us look older. It affects how deeply we breathe, how steady we feel when we walk, and even how much strain we put on our neck and lower back. The wall angel is a simple way to reset all of that. Here's how it works. Eustace would stand with his back flat against a wall, heels, hips, shoulders, and head all touching if possible. Then, he'd raise his arms as if making a goalpost or a W shape, elbows bent, and slowly slide them up and down the wall like angel wings. At first, it felt a little awkward. His arms didn't go as high as he thought they would. His shoulders felt tight. But little by little, each day, he felt his chest open, his neck tension ease, and his back muscles switch back on. What Eustace loved most. It took less than 2 minutes. No pain, no equipment, just the wall he passed by every day. Within a few weeks, he noticed he was standing taller without even trying. His breathing felt fuller, and that dull ache between his shoulders, it started fading, giving him back the comfort and energy he thought he'd lost for good. Have you ever tried this? Tell us in the comments, or let us know if posture is something you're working on. We'd love to hear your story. And stay tuned, because the next exercise Eustace discovered is one that physical therapists say every senior should do daily, yet hardly anyone knows about it. Exercise 2. Barefoot Balance Stand. Eustace remembers the moment that truly shook him, one of those small, ordinary moments that sticks with you because of how close it came to turning into something serious. He was leaving his neighborhood grocery store, arms full of bags, when he stepped off the curb and caught his foot on the tiniest crack in the pavement. It wasn't even an inch high, but that little uneven edge was enough to send him stumbling forward. Heart racing, bags dropping, grabbing at the air to steady himself. He didn't fall that day, but it was close. And the look of concern from the young man, who rushed over to help, stayed with him longer than he cared to admit. From that day on, Eustace started second-guessing his steps. He found himself watching the ground more closely, hesitating at curbs, porch steps, even slight changes in floor height inside his own home. That quiet fear of losing balance started to creep into every walk, every errand, every outing. And with it came frustration. How did this happen? He wondered. How did I go from steady and sure to worrying about every step I take? That's when Eustace discovered a simple, overlooked exercise, the Barefoot Balance Stand. There was no equipment to buy, no learning curve, no need for a gym or a trainer. It started with him standing barefoot in his living room, near a sturdy chair for support. He lifted one foot just an inch off the floor and tried to hold it there. At first, it was humbling. His ankle wobbled. His toes gripped the floor like they were trying to hold on for dear life. And after just 10 seconds, he had to set his foot down. But here's where the magic began. Eustace made it part of his daily routine. A few seconds here, a minute there, standing barefoot, focusing on his balance. Within days, he felt muscles in his feet and ankles waking up, muscles he didn't even realize had gone quiet. His toes learned to spread naturally for better support. His ankles stopped wobbling so much. Each day, his balance improved a little more. Soon, he didn't need the chair for support. He could stand on one foot for 30 seconds. Then 60. He practiced while waiting for coffee to brew, while brushing his teeth, or during TV commercials. And slowly, that fear of falling began to fade. The sidewalk no longer felt like an obstacle course. Curbs and steps became ordinary again. The next move? It's the one physical therapists wish every senior did daily. And you're about to find out why it's so powerful. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss this. Exercise 3. The Seated Core Twist. Of all the movements Eustace added to his routine, this one surprised him the most because it didn't require him to lie down, get on the floor, or even stand up. The seated core twist became one of his favorite, most trusted daily habits. You see, for years, Eustace assumed core exercises were reserved for younger folks, the kind of people who spend afternoons at the gym doing sit-ups, crunches, or planks. All those moves that made his back ache just thinking about them. He figured those days were long behind him. What no one had ever told him, and what he wishes he'd learned sooner, is that the core isn't just about appearances or athletic strength, that it's the foundation that keeps you steady. When you bend, reach, or even simply stand tall, it protects your spine, helps prevent falls, and makes everyday movements easier. And here's the best part. You can strengthen it without ever leaving your chair. Before he discovered this gentle twist, Eustace often felt that familiar, nagging tightness in his lower back. Long car rides left him stiff and sore. Sitting through his grandkids' school plays or sports games made him restless, constantly shifting in his seat to get comfortable. Even reaching for the TV remote on the side table felt like more of a challenge than it should have been. That all started to change when he added the seated core twist. It's so simple, yet so effective. Eustace would sit upright in a sturdy chair, feet flat and firmly grounded. He'd rest his hands behind his head or cross them over his chest, whatever felt best that day. Then, slowly and with full control, he'd rotate his upper body to the right, pause to take a deep breath, return to center, and twist to the left. No rushing, no forcing, just steady, mindful motion. What amazed him was how quickly he felt those deep core muscles engage, muscles that act like a natural belt, wrapping around the spine, keeping it safe and stable. After just a few days of gentle twisting, his posture began to improve. The nagging back stiffness eased. Everyday actions like reaching, bending, or turning felt smoother and more natural. And here's what surprised him most. His digestion improved, too. Those gentle, rhythmic twists helped things move along, leaving him feeling lighter and more comfortable throughout the day. What made this exercise a game changer was how effortlessly it fit into his life. Eustace would do it while watching TV, during commercial breaks, on the phone with a friend, or waiting for water to boil. And each time, he felt reassured. A small, kind action that protected his back and supported his strength. Could you spare 2 minutes a day to protect your back? Let us know below. Your story might inspire someone else to start today. Stay tuned, because up next is the movement that helped Eustace feel younger from the hips down and boosted his circulation in a way that left him feeling energized for the first time in years. Exercise 4. The Doorway March. The next movement that quietly transformed Eustace's daily life was the one he least expected to have such a big impact. The Doorway March. What made this so powerful wasn't that it was fancy or physically demanding. In fact, that's exactly what Eustace loved about it. It required no equipment, no complicated instructions, no classes, no apps, nothing but himself and a doorway or hallway in his home. Something so ordinary, so familiar, became the starting point for one of the most refreshing changes he'd felt in years. Eustace began small. He'd stand tall between the doorway, placing his fingertips lightly on the frame for balance, just enough to feel secure but not to rely on it. Then, he'd lift one knee gently toward his chest, as if marching in place, lower it with control, and switch to the other leg. At first, his knees didn't lift very high at all. His hips felt stiff, as though they'd forgotten how to move that way. His movements were slow, cautious. He focused on keeping steady, listening to his body. And here's the beauty. That's all it took. Slow, gentle, deliberate motion, done consistently. What surprised Eustace most was how quickly this small, simple habit began to work its magic. His hips, tight from years of sitting through long drives, family dinners, church services, and cozy afternoons in his recliner, began to loosen up. The heaviness in his legs, that sluggish, dragging feeling that made even short walks feel tiring, started to lift. And as he marched in place, even for just a minute or two, he could feel his heart rate rise slightly, not enough to wear him out, but enough to give his circulation a healthy nudge. It wasn't exhausting. It was refreshing, a subtle boost that left him feeling more alert, more alive. Within just a few weeks, Eustace noticed real changes. Getting up from his chair became easier. That little pause, the one he used to take to steady himself before the first step, was gone. His steps felt lighter, his stamina improved. And that sluggish afternoon feeling that used to creep in, it began to fade. He loved how easy it was to fit the doorway march into his day, while waiting for the kettle to boil, during phone calls with friends, even during TV commercials. But the real gift of this move, it wasn't just about his hips. It was a full-body wake-up call. It kept his circulation strong, maintained the strength in his legs, and gave his energy a steady, reliable lift that carried him through the day. But the final exercise? It's so simple, most seniors skip it, and that's a huge mistake. Stay with us, because this last move could change the way you start and end your day, and leave you feeling calmer, stronger, and ready for anything. Exercise 5. The 3-breath stretch. The final piece of Eustace's daily routine turned out to be the simplest and, in many ways, the most meaningful. It's called the 3-breath stretch, and Eustace often says that this 1-minute habit is what truly helped him feel like himself again. No pills, no appointments, no special equipment, just a quiet moment of connection between his body and mind, right at the start of the day. Eustace first heard about mindful breathing at a free health talk at his local community center. Honestly, he wasn't convinced. How could breathing, something we all do without even thinking, really change anything? But after everything else he'd tried, he figured, what do I have to lose? So the next morning, before his coffee, before the news, before the day had a chance to pull at him, he gave it a try. It was simple. Eustace stood tall, either by his kitchen window or on his porch when the weather allowed. He raised his arms slowly above his head as he took a deep, steady breath, one that filled his lungs and expanded his chest. Then, as he exhaled, he gently lowered his arms, letting his shoulders drop and his whole body soften. He did this 3 times, moving with his breath, no rushing, no forcing. What happened over the next few days surprised him. That tight feeling he often carried in his neck and shoulders, the kind of tension that crept in without him realizing, started to ease. His mind, which sometimes felt foggy in the mornings or cluttered with small worries, felt clearer. Eustace found that when little challenges popped up during the day, a misplaced bill, a change of plans, he was calmer, more patient. And here's what really amazed him. His next blood pressure reading at his doctor's office was better. His sleep improved, no more tossing and turning for hours. And he began to feel a gentle, steady focus that lasted through the day, all from just 3 mindful breaths and stretches in the morning. Eustace didn't need fancy tools or complicated routines. He just needed that quiet minute, a moment of calm that set the tone for everything that followed. Would you try this tomorrow morning? Tell us in the comments. Your story might inspire someone else to begin their own journey toward feeling stronger, calmer, and more in control. And let Eustace's experience be a reminder. Sometimes the smallest, simplest steps lead to the biggest transformations. Today, Eustace's life looks and feels completely different from the man who once hesitated at every curb or winced at the thought of bending down to tie his shoes. He's not running marathons or trying to be someone he's not. What he gained is far more valuable: freedom. The freedom to enjoy his life without his body holding him back. These days, Eustace takes his grandkids fishing without worrying whether his knees will give out halfway down the dock. He climbs into the boat without that old twinge in his back. He bends to bait a hook, steadies his grandchild's line, and stands tall as he casts out into the water. No hesitation, no hidden fear that his balance will fail him. When the little ones beg, "Just one more cast, Grandpa," he smiles, knowing he can give them that moment. He can be present, fully there, without worrying about what his body will or won't let him do. This transformation didn't come from magic. There was no miracle pill, no overnight cure. Eustace's strength, confidence, and comfort came from small, consistent steps. Tiny daily actions that anyone can do, including you. 5 gentle movements that took minutes, not hours. No expensive equipment. No gym membership. Just commitment, patience, and a decision not to give in to the slow decline that so many accept as just aging. What makes Eustace's story so inspiring is that he didn't set out to change everything at once. He started small. He stuck with it. And little by little, those moments of movement added up. His balance came back. His strength returned. His energy grew. And with that, so did his joy. His ability to say yes. Yes to fishing trips. Yes to long walks. Yes to playing with his grandkids. Yes to life. And here's what Eustace would tell you today. If you were sitting beside him on that dock, you're stronger than you think. Truly, your body is capable of more than you realize. Sometimes, it just needs the right moves to remind it what it can do. If this inspired you, hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone you care about. Let's age better together, one small, powerful step at a time.